boys and girls. Well, today we're going to stay in the southern hemisphere of our planet, and we're going to be visiting an animal that lives down here in Antarctica. Remember, this is a continent and it is surrounded by water, and this is Antarctica, the South Pole. And one of our animals that we're looking at today spends its whole life cycle down here in Antarctica. And this bird, yeah, it's a bird, you won't find up here in the northern hemisphere of our planet. You will only find it in the southern hemisphere and in one of the coldest places on the planet. So let's find out who it is. The Emperor's Egg, written by Martin Jenkins. That means he's the author. Illustrated by Jane Chapman. That means she drew the pictures. I think she did a great job. And now, I think I've given you a really good clue as to who we're going to be reading about today. The Emperor's Egg. Down at the very bottom of the world, there's a huge continent that's almost completely covered in snow and ice. It's called Antarctica, and it's the coldest, windiest place on Earth. The weather's bad enough there in the summertime, but in the winter, it's terrible. It's hard to imagine anything actually living there. But wait, what's that shape over there? It can't be. Yes. Who do you think it is? It's a penguin. It's not just any old penguin either. It's a male emperor penguin, the biggest penguin in the world, and he's doing a very important job. He's taking care of his egg. Male emperor penguins are about 4 feet tall. That's about as tall as you. The females are a little bit smaller. He didn't lay it on his own, of course. His mate did that a few weeks ago, but very soon afterwards, she turned around and waddled off to the sea. That's where female emperor penguins spend most of winter, swimming about, getting as fat as they can, eating as much as they can, and generally having a nice time. Well, as far as you can tell. Emperor penguins eat mainly fish, squid, and tiny shrimp-like animals called krill. So there she is. Of course, here's Dad at home taking care of the egg. Which leaves the father penguin stuck on the ice with his egg. Now, the most important thing about egg sitting is to stop your egg from getting cold. Inside the egg, a penguin chick is starting to grow. If the egg gets cold, the chick will die. That means it has to be kept off the ice and out of the wind. And what better way to do that than to rest the egg on top of your feet and tuck it right under your tummy, which is just what the father penguin does. So, on top of your feet, up off the ice, and tucked under your tummy pouch. Helps keep it nice and warm. And that's how he'll stay for 2 whole months until the egg is ready to hatch. Can you imagine it? Standing around in the freezing cold with an egg on your feet for 2 whole months. That's 8 weeks, 60 days. Really long time. Female emperor penguins lay one egg in May or June, which is the beginning of winter in Antarctica. That would be summer up here in the southern hemisphere, but in the northern hemisphere, but down in the southern hemisphere, that's wintertime. What's more, there's nothing for the father penguin to eat on land. And because he's egg sitting, he can't go off to the sea and feed. So that means 2 whole months with an egg on your feet and no dinner, or breakfast, or lunch, or snacks. I don't know about you, but I'd be very, very miserable. Oh my goodness, I could not imagine having no dinner, no breakfast, no lunch, and no snacks for 2 whole months. My tummy would be really growling. Oh, well, luckily, the penguins don't seem to mind too much. They have thick feathers and lots of fat under their skin to help keep them warm. And when it gets really cold and windy, they all snuggle up together and shuffle over the ice in a great big huddle. Most of the time, the huddle trundles along very, very slowly. Remember, we've talked about the huddle before and how they take turns at being in the middle where it's the warmest and on the outside where it's the coldest. But sometimes when the penguins get to a particularly slippery slope, slippery slope, I hear that SL at the beginning, they slide down it on their tummies, pushing themselves along with their flippers, always remembering to take care of their egg and trying hard not to bump into each other. Even though the males keep their egg tucked up under their tummies when they slide, sometimes it rolls out and it breaks. And that's how the father penguin spends the winter, until one day he hears a chip, chip, chip. What do you think? I agree with you. His egg is starting to hatch. It takes a day or so, but finally the egg cracks right open and out pops a penguin chick. Now the father penguin has 2 jobs to do. He has to keep the chick warm and he has to feed it. The chick is only about 6 inches tall at first and much too small to keep warm by itself. So guess where it has to stay? Yep, right on top of Dad's feet and tucked under that tummy pouch. But on what? What's he going to feed it? The chick is too small to be taken off to the sea to catch food, and it can't be left behind on the ice. Well, deep down in the father penguin's throat, there's a pouch where he makes something that's a little bit like milk. And that's what he feeds to his hungry chick. The father penguin can make only enough of the milky stuff to feed his chick for a couple of weeks. That's 14 days. But just as he's about to run out, a dot appears on the horizon. It gets closer and closer, and yes, who do you think it is? It's Mom. She starts trumpeting, hello, and the father penguin starts trumpeting, hello, and the chick whistles. The racket, that's noise, goes on for hours, and it really does sound as if they're extremely pleased to see each other. Every adult penguin has its own special call, just like a fingerprint. Chicks have their own special whistle too. That family is very happy to see each other. As soon as things calm down, the mother penguin is sick right into the chick's mouth. Yuck, you may think. Yum, thinks the chick, and gobbles it all down. So that's called regurgitating. She's kept some of that undigested fish in her stomach, and then she throws it up into the chick's mouth so he has something to eat. It's the mother's turn to take care of the chick now, while the father sets off to the sea for a well-earned meal of his own. About time, too. Bye, Dad. Have a good time. See you soon. And that's the end. So, we learned that in the emperor penguin family, it's Dad who takes care of the egg for 2 whole months while Mum is off fishing in the ocean. And then she comes and takes over taking care of the chick that's now hatched. And Dad goes off to the ocean. And the chick has to get bigger and grow because he is a living thing. And he changes from his soft, downy feathers to feathers that are sleek and slippery for sliding through the water and washing it off, shaking it off when he gets out. So we know that just like a plant has a life cycle, starting with a seed and then a seedling and then growing to a plant and then producing fruit or vegetables or growing and then starting that cycle all over again, so too do animals. And I have here growing up. And this one is a penguin's life cycle where we have our grown-up penguin laying an egg and taking care of it, and our egg hatching into a big fluffy chick, and then the chick growing up to a young penguin who then goes off to the ocean to learn how to be an adult before they come back and lay an egg. The egg hatches, the chick grows up and goes off to the ocean to become an adult, and then so it too is a cycle. Well, down below are some mixed up pictures, and it's going to be your job to put them in a life cycle, a penguin life cycle, to record in your journal. So, look carefully, my scientists, and make that penguin life cycle. Off you go.